Hey guys, so we are going to go over last week in WWE, Monday Night Raw, and SmackDown. So, Monday Night Raw started with Cody Rhodes coming out. He showed the scar from where he had the pectoral surgery last year after his match with Seth Rollins. That was a pretty good opening segment and really kind of builds to whatever his next match is. And I don't know that they've really set anything up for him for Backlash at the moment except Brock Lesnar. So that should be good. This didn't really move anything forward with Brock Lesnar necessarily. A whole lot. You had Finn Balor comes out, and he attempted to recruit Cody to the Judgment Day. That did not work. I think the main point of this segment was essentially just to say that it was going to take a whole lot more than what Brock Lesnar did Monday after WrestleMania to keep him down. That he's not scared of him, that he's overcome bigger obstacles. We then had the Bloodline taking on the Latin World Order. It was a decent match. I don't know that it kind of moves things along, yet it doesn't. It kind of goes along with what we saw last week with Judgment Day and the Bloodline kind of essentially trying to take care of each other's problems. So the Bloodline ended up picking up the victory there with Solo hitting a Samoan spike so that the Usos could hit the 1D. I don't know how I feel about this Samoan spike. Like, it's okay, and I'm glad that he's using it, but I almost feel like I need to see a different finisher from him, maybe. Give him a little bit of dimension. We then had Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander taking on the Street Profits. This got the two tag teams on the card. I don't know that it did anything necessarily for them. The Street Profits ended up picking up the victory, which is good since they're attempting to move them forward in the tag team division, going towards the tag team titles. So they have definitely, I think, put on hold the idea of splitting the Street Profits, and yet at the same time, they have planted those seeds so that when they do break this tag team up, we're going to already kind of have some feedback from that. We then got before we get to the Damage Control and then Bianca Belair and Rodriguez and Liv Morgan match, let's talk about Triple H's announcement. So, one big thing that he announced was this new heavyweight championship, that it would be on whatever show Roman Reigns was not on. So that should be really interesting, and I feel like where they're going with that is probably going to be Seth Rollins, if I have to hazard a guess. So that is going to be on May 27th at Night of Champions in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is where that's going to be held at. Honestly, guys, I liked the look of this new title. I know others did not necessarily care for it, but I thought it looked pretty decent. Now, with this being said, I have also heard rumors now that they may be putting together a different championship for Roman. I've heard that they're going to come up with a different design that's going to be just one title, as opposed to him bringing down both the Universal Championship and the old WWE Championship, that he would just be carrying one title. So we will see if that actually happens. Right now, we have not officially heard that. Okay, we then have the women's tag match, which was good. It got the ladies on the card. I feel like this did take a moment to kind of re-cement damage control. There had started to be a little bit of shaky ground there. So this was important for them to show that they were a unit, and Dakota Kai and Io Sky definitely have come into their own. They have. So Bianca Belair, Raquel Rodriguez, and Liv Morgan picked up the victory there. I don't really know yet whether they're going to give Sonya Deville and Candice Green their rematch because of the actions at the end of the match from Raquel and Liv. We will see. We have not heard anything specific on that yet. We'll have to see on that. We then have Austin Theory. He's coming on out. He is going to be, I don't know that they have a match specifically set up for him just yet. But I think we're going to end up getting a triple threat with Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, and Bronson Reed. So I think that's what we're going to end up getting at Backlash. We will see. We then had Mustafa Ali taking on Chad Gable. Mustafa Ali ended up picking up the victory, which is nice. It was his home crowd. Chad Gable always knows how to work in the ring. He always does a lot of really good things there. It got them on the card, so I think that that's good. We then had Finn Balor taking on Cody Rhodes. So this was set up in that opening segment. Cody wanted a fight, and sounded like Finn wanted one, so we ended up with Cody Rhodes pick up the victory on that. Got them both on the card. It was a decent match. And had Rey Mysterio taking on Damian Priest. It was a decent match. They ended up with a disqualification. And I don't know why I'm forgetting exactly why. So we then have oh, it was the chair. Yes, it was the chair that Priest threw at Ray. At the very end of that, we have Bad Bunny arriving, and he comes on out after this match ends. And he ends the show by essentially telling them that he was no longer hosting Backlash, but that he would be competing against Damian Priest in a street fight. So that should be really good. I'm looking forward to that actually a lot. That should be a good match. For those that don't necessarily remember, this brings back when Bad Bunny was involved in WWE the first time. He had some issues with The Miz, and so he ended up taking on The Miz and John, and he worked alongside Damian Priest in that one. So this is kind of interesting that we're going from Damian Priest being his partner to now being his opponent. That'll be a good show. That'll be a good match for that. Moving on to SmackDown and the first night of the draft. Tonight being the second night of the draft. We will see what ends up coming up from that. Okay. So to start the draft, we had Triple H coming on out. He announced the first picks and also stated the rules that 50% of the roster would be drafted on SmackDown and the other half would be drafted on Raw, and that there would be select NXT stars that would be available, and that those rosters would go into effect May 8th after Backlash. So we're going to start with a pick from SmackDown, and that was Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and Roman Reigns as the Bloodline. Notice that the Usos were not listed as part of that. We then had Raw's first pick, which was Cody Rhodes, which makes sense, right? This definitely means that we are not going to be getting Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, at least not right now, which is okay. But we could be getting Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins again before long, potentially for that new championship. We then see Bianca Belair being drafted to SmackDown. So what this means is that tonight we should be seeing Rhea Ripley being drafted to Monday Night Raw, more than likely. We then have, with the second pick for Monday Night Raw, Becky Lynch, which makes sense because I feel like they're going to keep Seth on Monday Night Raw, and they're probably going to keep the two of them together. Then the Usos come on out. Then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn coming on out. Now this does not start their match yet. Now remember that they are going to be having a rematch for those championships tonight, or on this show. But they'll do that in the main event. Okay, then we have LA Knight taking on Pete Dunne. That should be interesting. That was a fun little match. It was okay. LA Knight picked up the victory there. And that's interesting for LA Knight. He hasn't really had necessarily a whole lot of momentum. He had a decent match against Bray Wyatt. But he hasn't really done a whole lot since then. So, okay. We then had a little backstage segment with Paul Heyman and the Usos, essentially telling them that they need to be drafted to the Island of Relevancy, which is now SmackDown. We will see what ends up happening there, because I don't think they were eligible night one. So, SmackDown next pick, the Street Profits. Raw's pick is Imperium, including Gunther. So, what this means is that we're going to, so, that's Raw's pick. So, Gunther will be moving to Raw, which means Austin Theory will be moving to SmackDown, which opens up some new matches for Austin Theory, which is nice. Okay, so SmackDown then drafts Edge, which is interesting. I'm going to have to look at exactly the rosters after tonight's show. Monday Night Raw picked Matt Riddle. So, we then had a little segment with the Street Profits. And we ended up with actually a triple threat tag team match here. Braun Strowman and Ricochet taking on the Latin World Order. Only Del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. And then the Street Profits. So 6-man tag match there. This gets them on the card. It's kind of showcasing some things, which is good. And the Street Profits end up picking up a victory there. Unfortunately, it did come at the cost of Ricochet, but I think Ricochet will probably be fine. This really is helping the momentum of the Street Profits. I don't know whether it's quite time yet for them to maybe take the titles off of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. We had a video package for Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. That's kind of hyping that up some more. I am sure we will get more of that tonight. That should go pretty good. So, SmackDown picked Bobby Lashley. Then Raw picked Drew McIntyre. Then SmackDown picked the OC, which is AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows, and Mia Yim. And they close that out with Miz going to Raw, which should be good. I really hope that this means AJ Styles is cleared to compete. They maybe could have gone about that a little different, bringing him back than just this draft announcement. We then had Sonya Deville taking on Zelina Vega. This was set up last week. It is a way for, essentially, Zelina Vega to prove why she deserves to take on the champion. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting, because Zelina Vega had asked for a match against Rhea Ripley. Now she wants this at Backlash. So, and here's the thing. I want to see Zelina Vega get this match. I don't see her winning. I don't see Rhea losing this title. And right now we don't know exactly where Zelina Vega is going yet. Now they did set that up a little bit because after that match, Rhea Ripley did come out and attacked Zelina Vega. So so the OC is out there and Viking Raiders come on out. This is interesting. I like this in that you're getting Valhalla involved now, and that's good. I've been wanting to see them get her involved. So that's good. Get her involved because honestly, she's a talented individual. She is. I like it. I do. I wanted to see Sarah Logan, or Valhalla as she's called now, get back into actual in-ring action. So that'll be nice. Well, this wasn't an official match. It was good to see her get involved. Okay, so we have some of our last draft announcements here. SmackDown picked Damage Control, so they are officially staying together through this draft. And Shinsuke Nakamura is going to Raw. This gets to the fun part. So, we have joining SmackDown Alba Fire and Isla Dawn from NXT, the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. This is interesting. This is fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what this means. And then Monday Night Raw, their final pick, the NXT Women's Champion, Indy Hartwell. So it'll be interesting to see Tuesday exactly where that leaves NXT, with 3 of their champions being drafted to the main roster. Now we do have, sounds like we may be getting a title match then Tuesday night between Isla Dawn and Alpha Fire and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. We will see. I don't know that is definitely not official yet that I know of, but we'll see. We are then going to close up the show with our tag team title match, in which Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn pick up the victory. And we have an interesting stare from Jey Uso after the match, which makes me wonder what happens next for them, because there was a lot riding on them getting these tag team titles back. What does Roman do now? Because he's already not happy about this, right? And so Solo Sikoa did attempt to come out and interfere. However, he was I believe that it was Matt Riddle, yes. So Matt Riddle stopped him from that, though. Where does this leave them? It'll be interesting to see. I don't know that we will find out tonight, necessarily. We could, in the fact that the Usos could get drafted tonight and end up being drafted to Monday Night Raw, potentially. Hard to say. It's going to be a fun night where we see what ends up coming our way. And that is this past week of wrestling.